It's a great day waking up knowing that President Trump is the president of the United States. Here he is on the Oprah Winfrey Show about 30 years ago explaining what tariffs are doing to America and how other countries are getting over on the United States of America. Nothing has changed. The Don, before he was called a racist, a communist, and all the other garbage, when Democrats loved him, they all loved him, he was saying, and the same exact thing as he's saying now. Let's jump into the video.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not.
It is a complete joke. And the days, it's very simple premise. We're going to do to you, meaning other countries, what you do to America. And who has a problem with this? Democrats, because Democrats are communists. Democrats hate America. And there's a few select elite Democrats that are selling America out by allowing these countries to add these tariffs while they get paid for it, and the rest of us suffer as American jobs leave America, as our country gets weakened from within and we strengthen our enemies because a few select Democrats like Hussein Obama, Nancy Pelosi, the Biden crime family all enrich themselves with bribes from these countries. Well, the ride is over. You're no longer going to get over on America. We have a real leader in President Trump. We have a real businessman in President Trump that's letting the rest of the world know it's over. You're not getting over on us anymore. And I couldn't be happier. I don't care if I have to suffer for a short period of time until the market rebounds, until things get better. Because for the existence and long haul of America, you have to do this as a leader. To save America and American citizens, President Trump has to do this. President Trump goes after Adam Schiff. He says that he has the smallest neck that he's ever seen, the biggest head, it's the size of a watermelon, and doesn't understand how his head can fit on his neck. Let's check out the video.
The biggest head, we call him watermelon head. He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. Adam Shifty Schiffs. Can you believe this guy? He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. And the biggest head, we call him watermelon head. I'd say, how could that big fat face stand on a neck that looked like this finger? How can it? It was the weirdest thing. It's a mystery. Nobody can understand it. But he's one of the most dishonest human beings I've ever seen. And, you know, how we can allow people like that to run in office is a shame, but we did. He was in charge of the witch hunt. You know, he was in charge of the fake witch hunt with Russia. It was a made-up story. Made up. Think of it. They make up a story. They know it's made up. It's gone on for a year and a half, 2 years. Russia. I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew was that I taxed the pipeline that I told you about, that I put all sorts of sanctions and everything else. They never had a problem like they had with me. But it was Russia, constant, as a method of, what they did is that was the complaint about why she lost an election, because crooked Hillary was expected to win the election. But they didn't see what we saw. We saw the biggest crowds in history gathering, only superseded by the crowds we just had. But here's a guy that goes out and he goes to an intelligence hearing or whatever you might call it, and it's supposed to be secret. He'd walk out, he'd either make a call off the record, just as crooked Adam Schiff, shifty Schiff. He's a shifty Adam. Or he'd just go out blatantly and have a news conference. And because it had to do with me and my family, he'd go out and have a news conference. And he said, now you've got to remember, he knows it's a hoax because he made it up with Crooked Hillary. So he knows it's a hoax because we're dealing with human beings on the other side. It's a Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States, will spend many years in prison because of what he's done with Russia. Now, think of that statement on a human basis. I have a son, a young son, who is being told that he's going for prison on something he doesn't even know what they're talking about. He said, Dad, I don't know what's going on. They keep talking about I'm involved with Russia. I don't know anything about Russia. I swear to you, Dad. And yet, Adam Schiff goes out and makes a statement about a hoax that he made up that he knows is false. How bad a human being do you have to be? They put my son and my family through that kind of trauma. These are bad people. These are sick.
Exactly. I wouldn't expect anything less from Democrats. That's why I make these videos. You went after President Trump's family, his businesses, his finances, his freedom. And of course, Democrats and liberals will cry, Trump is a bully. He said that Adam Schiff has a big, huge head that looks like a watermelon on the smallest neck that he's ever seen. How dare he? He's Adolf Hitler. Democrats make me sick. You all make me sick. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I hate the Democratic Party with every morsel of my being, with God created me to be. I despise the Democratic Party. And that's why I make these videos. I say it all the time. I don't need vindication by getting paid millions of dollars for these videos. If one person watches my video and becomes enlightened and says, you know what? He's right. I'm going to be a Republican. I did my job. And what President Trump just said is the reason why I make these videos. Because if they'll do it to President Trump, they'll do it to anybody. We're all just roadkill on the side of the road. Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, says that she is going to refuse questions from reporters who display pronouns in their email signatures, saying they deny biological reality and can't be trusted to write honest stories. And she's absolutely right. I love it. It's time to stand up to the madness and say, no, I'm not going to accept this. Pronouns, you're either a man or a woman. You don't get to choose. You're not non-binary, whatever. You're not a trans. You're not a cisgender. Enough. This is what adults do. Adults say, time out. Enough. I had it. I'm not dealing with it anymore. And of course, liberals will lose their minds, call her a racist, come up with, oh, she's acting like she's part of the Hitler regime for not taking questions. How could you trust anybody that can't tell you what a woman is? Here, let me clue you in. A woman is your mama. The woman you came out of. That's a woman. Men can't have babies. You got to get over it. New York Times reporter Michael Grinbaum said the press office has rejected emails on 3 recent occasions from reporters who display their gender identifying label and attributing quotes to press secretary Caroline Leavitt, expressing it as policy. As a matter of policy, we do not respond to reporters with pronouns in their bios, Leavitt told a Times reporter with pronouns in their signature who had inquired about a climate research observatory. Love it. I love it. I have liberal fatigue. I have transgender fatigue. I have nothing but disgust and zero patience for a bunch of nut jobs. At this point, I would do the same exact thing as her. I wouldn't even call on anybody or answer an email to somebody that had their preferred pronouns in their email. Not going to happen, ever. Grimbaum received a comment from White House Communications Director Stephen Chung on the topic as well. Chung said, if the New York Times spent the same amount of time actually reporting the truth as they do being obsessed with pronouns, maybe they would be a half-decent publication. And I couldn't agree more. This is what Democrats worry about. Pronouns, sports teams' names, criminals. Oh, we deported a gang member. Poor him. Let's bring him back. Let me explain this to you. You don't have to be a gang member or be convicted of a crime to be deported. If you're in the country illegally, that's enough. But in a Democrat's, liberal's brain, this is too much for them. They don't understand the truth. They don't understand law and order because it's not in their DNA codes. And of course, the reporters are all complaining and crying that this is not the Democratic way. You know it's not democratic. You know it's not the American way. Trying to convince young children that there's more than two genders and you get to decide if you're a man or a woman. And oh, by the way, if you want to cut your penis off, we'll let you do it and we won't even contact your parents. That's what's not fair or un-American. President Trump and Tom Homan are not playing games with people in the United States of America who are here illegally. He's had it. It's over. He is pressing the IRS to give information where illegals live. So the acting IRS commissioner plans to resign after data sharing deal with immigration authorities. The free ride, the nonsense, the crime, the ridiculousness is coming to an end, thanks to President Trump and Tom Homan. How could you be in a country illegally for 30 years, get pulled over, be arrested, and you don't get returned to your country of origin? As an American citizen, if I went to Mexico illegally, guess what would happen? They'd put me in prison for 10 years immediately. That's what happens all over the world. You go anywhere in the world and you're walking down the street, show us your papers now. And if not, you're detained, deported, imprisoned. America's the only country in the world where Democrats have allowed an illegal to come into the country, get free housing, healthcare, benefits, commit crimes, and still be released because Democrats need future Democratic voters. Your party makes me absolutely sick. Let's jump into the article. The agency will give DHS tax information on immigrants in the U.S. illegally. The acting commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service is planning to resign following the agency's data sharing agreement with the Department of Homeland Security to support the Trump administration's effort to deport undocumented immigrants. 3 sources familiar with her plan told ABC News. Melanie Krause is the 3rd leader of the agency to resign this year. Senate-confirmed Commissioner Danny Werfel resigned from his role on Inauguration Day, less than 2 years into his 5-year term. 1 month later, Acting Commissioner Doug O'Donnell, who spent nearly 4 decades at the IRS, retired amid concerns about the Trump administration's management of the agency. Oh well, see ya. Here, President Trump, if you're watching this, put me in charge of the IRS. We'll make it a 10% flat tax on everybody regardless of how much money you're making. I'll give you whatever information you need on anybody you want. You're the President of the United States. I will fall in line and do what I'm asked and follow orders. I'm glad all these commies are leaving and retiring. See you later. Jasmine Crockett, the new face of the Democratic Party. I love that she's the new face of the Democratic Party. I love that she keeps talking and she's doing this whole ghetto fabulous routine. Meanwhile, she's an Ivy League graduate. She's doing this because she thinks it's going to help her win elections. No, it's not. We already saw this with Kamala Harris. She's Kamala Harris Jr. acting like something that she's not, or that she grew up a certain way, which she obviously didn't. So, of course, she calls President Trump a mofo. We all know what that means. Says some voters disqualified Kamala Harris for her race or sex. It's just fatigue. It's so exhausting to listen to this garbage every day. Oh, no, it had nothing to do with the economy, the border. Kamala Harris is an absolute joke. She went missing for 4 years during corrupt Joe Biden's presidency. Her only job was to fix the border. She's as inadequate as it gets, but yet Americans didn't vote for her because she's black and a female, right? So the border didn't have anything to do with it. Inflation, crime, nope. It's just you're a racist. That's all it is. You didn't vote for Kamala because you're a racist. End of story. Then Jasmine Crockett says that America needs illegal immigrants because black people are finished picking cotton. This is who the Democratic Party has made their leader. This is who's going to lead the Democratic Party. I love it because a person as ignorant as Jasmine Crockett, you know what it means? It means Republican victories as long as she's around. Let her keep talking. Let her say whatever she wants. Let her show her true racist self every day of the week. I love it.
But somebody who's getting a lot of attention right now is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Take a listen to some of her recent comments regarding illegal immigration and why she feels it is necessary. And then President Trump talking about her rising star. Watch this.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go inform right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her? If that's their new star, they're in serious trouble.
Exactly.
Okay, so what do you think about her comments, David, and the president's reaction?
It's just so pathetic. Did anybody tell her to comb her hair to the side? She looked like she had bedhead. But hey, no big deal. She's an absolute disgrace. The whole voice, it's all an act. That's all it is. She's just trying to be a little bit more authentic than Kamala. Kamala was so bad at the act. It was just so beyond cringed every time she talked. But Jasmine Crockett isn't too far behind. She's just a little bit below Kamala.